Craig. Oh, buddy. How you doing? I see you're by yourself. That's good. Nothing surprising there. Jay?
What?
Intro?
Oh.
Intro. Your
Oh,
job.
I thought you were talking to Craig. I was going to let you finish.
No.
Do the okay. Intro. Well, yeah, sure. I'll do the intro. We're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I'm Jay, joined with my co-host Christopher, Christian, and Dan. Say hi, guys.
Hello there.
Guys. There it is.
God damn! You just say hi, guys. Damn it, Christian. One time.
I've given you the circumstances of my capitulation for that.
I have to die in order for you to say hello there or hi, guys.
That
would work. That would
but
work.
That would
though.
fulfill it.
Okay. All right. Well, whatever. Do your job now.
Yep. So, Christian, where can they find us on the social medias?
You can find the Grumpy Dungeon Masters on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. You can find us streaming on Twitch TV Tuesday and Thursday nights around 9-ish Eastern. Currently running through an honor mode run of Baldur's Gate 3. And eventually, coming soon to a Twitch TV near you, will be the glorious return of Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher's 5e D&D game, Waterdeep Worldborn Dead.
Coming in November of 2032.
At this point in time, I don't want to do it because you've hyped it up so much.
Yeah, you can't possibly live up to the expectations I've brought everyone to expect.
Good.
I'm going to keep getting more bombastic about it.
Craig, you didn't share the memo to all of us that I had provided to you. And then you forgot. Where are our guests, Craig? Outside?
We have guests?
Yes, we have guests. There they are. Rick and Erik. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hello.
Damn it, Craig.
Your Skynet is evil. All right.
It is very cold out here. Please open the door.
All right, come on in. So today we have Rick Heinz, the founder of Storytellers Forge, and Erik Frankhouse.
Yep, you got it.
Yep, Erik Frankhouse.
2 words smashed together.
Yeah, perfect. Lead designer of, I guess, just the Shadowdark side of things,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Black Ballad Second Chances, lead designer for this. Rick and I have been working on other projects, but that's what I'm doing for this one.
Yeah. So, I guess a quick aside. I believe, Rick, I met you at GaryCon last year. I think in passing, right?
Yes.
I think we were going around the merchandise room, and I had said, I guess, loudly enough that I had killed all my players, which is a very common thing that I seem to do. And you had at your little booth. Some lady working there, and she's like, "Did I hear you just killed all your players? I got the story for you." And then she gave me the whole pitch on the Black Ballad, and I was like, "You know what? I'm sold. I'll buy the whole thing." And I bought like the collector's edition. I think I had you guys sign it as well. I can't remember her name or who she was.
She was Courtney Penny. So Courtney Penny, and she's actually the lead editor and project manager and the other co-founder of the studio.
Awesome.
So she is basically nothing gets made and turned into an actual physical book unless it has passed through her computer.
That's cool. And part of one of the reasons why I just kind of bought the book on the spot was it just looked fucking metal. And that's, I guess, pretty much what the Black Ballad was, right? It's this almost metal opera about what happens when you pass over. Can you sell it better than I poorly just did?
Yeah, I'll try to do the full actual pitch that we do at conventions. So the Black Ballad is the perfect game to run after you TPK your party. Set in the afterlife, it's going to make your players question whether resurrection magic should even be allowed to exist. Because for 100 gold pieces, why would a king ever need to change his behavior? Remember, all the villains and NPCs can also bring themselves back from the dead. a full 10-chapter campaign that's designed to plug into anybody's homebrew campaign setting, because we're sick and tired of campaign books overwriting what house GMs are doing. And what makes the book even more special is that we worked with the heavy metal band Dia Morte, Riot Games' Pentakill, and Michael James Romeo from Symphony X to bake in a full custom soundtrack for every chapter.
Yeah, and that was something that I told my wife, who is the heavy metal fan in our relationship, and she recognized one of them. I can't remember which one. She recognized one of them, and I remember I was able to send her the files for the soundtrack, and that's all she was listening to for like a week straight. So the music is definitely top notch. For her to listen to something more than once, it's got to be fantastic. So I remember buying the book on the spot. The artwork in it is just absolutely fantastic. And I haven't had a chance to run it yet because the group that I normally kill all my players in is Adventures League. I run Adventures League at my local gaming store, and I kill them all the time. So I haven't killed my home campaign yet, though they're getting awfully close. They're getting to the point now where I have to use all the power word kill spells. So I got to look for something to do when the World War Dead actually comes through and, eats everybody. So, so you guys mainly wanted to get on our podcast and talk to us, not just about Black Ballad, but because you're doing a Shadowdark conversion of it. And that's where Christian is pretty much super hyped about. And I know he has a lot of questions. So do you want to jump into some questions now, or do you want to tell us a bit about your process with convert? What was the biggest thing probably you had converting from this 5e setting to the Shadowdark setting?
Well, the original book is what, over 200 something pages, Rick, right? The original
Yeah, 276 pages, right?
So that was one. And we had to figure a way to kind of bring it down to a more zine level, because that's obviously Shadowdark's A5. They're known for zines. It's what the culture, the people around are looking for. But for me, I saw a heavy metal story, and knowing Rick was a storyteller and I am a storyteller, we both grew up doing LARP stuff. I'm a paid GM on a professional level. I really wanted to show him that this is a really good storytelling system. Even though everyone thinks it's a dungeon crawl, that's actually not the truth. That's only part of it. The hardest thing was probably taking the level 20 either creatures or high level spells and converting them down to Shadowdark, because Shadowdark's 1 to 10. That was the big hurdle.
Okay. Anything more specific with like the spells? Like what were the? I mean, everything kills you in Shadowdark. I mean, I walk outside and like I trip over a rake.
So I mean, one part of this before I key Erik up to it. Erik took one look at this and goes, this isn't a simple conversion. We're going to redesign Black Ballad from the ground up to fit Shadowdark, right? And capture the mood and the myth that's there. But it's going to be different, and Black Ballad fits Shadowdark better from his mind. And after
I think it does,
stuff, I get it, right? I'm like, wait, this is perfect. And so even the adventure that we wrote in there is custom to that book. But
and infinitely replayable too. Like every time you die, the goal is you can play it a second time, a third time, a fourth time, and keep going through that adventure over and over. Because you're going to kill your players in Shadowdark a lot. Let's be real.
Yeah. Did you have to change anything with the story to kind of fit with the fact that all these Shadowdark characters are going to die a lot?
So
that was almost a boon, right, Rick?
Yes, it was. Well, so the storyline wise is the Black Ballad main campaign book is its own story that is a specific plot line, right? That does run through and really make players question resurrection magic, right? You can run that with second chances. You can take second chances and be like, hey, I want to go through this storyline. But we also just happen to have the Sunless Crossing, the whole setting of the Black Ballad, this purgatory realm, because you're not undead, right? You're not a violent or a sentient abomination. You are just simply dead. You are a ghost passing through purgatory on your way to your afterlife, and you're stuck in the realm of waiting. So because of that, we get to play around with this isn't attached to the Black Ballad main campaign plotline. It's its own thing. And we're going to write other stories that even go beyond this, that are just purely written for Shadowdark, right? Like just in the Storm of Broken Worlds, in the setting, things like that, because there's a bigger sandbox that we get to play with.
That's cool. I like it.
Well, one of the hurdles you were asking about earlier too, I would have to say in the idea that you die all the time, the classes are 20 levels, and there was so much content in one class that we got to pull it apart and make it spells for everybody, game modes, ancestries, and a new class, kind of all pulled from one of the classes. And that just comes to the Shadowdark's 1 to 10. And there's so much content in 5e that you can repurpose and remove and change those puzzle pieces to put on that Shadowdark foundation, which is super fun to build on top of.
Oh, there's another big thing that I got to definitely jump into that Eric wanted to play with that I agreed with. One of the biggest things to capture the mood of people dying in Shadowdark more often and having an adventure that's meant to be reusable is in the Black Ballad setting. Every time you die, you actually start losing your character's memories that are important to you. And you respawn, you get your full health back. You get to come back and do your thing, which can sometimes be a combat advantage in the moment, but what are you sacrificing to get that? You actually get some slow undead powers the more you die. So you start leveling up, but you start losing what makes your character like your character. Eventually you unravel completely and you can't play the adventure anymore. Because if you die that many times, you're going to have too much of a problem.
Threads in the wind.
But we still play a lot with memory loss in second chances. It's a second chance. It's not, a 232nd chance.
Yeah, there's a limit.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the I think it was the Soul Stitched. I had to look it back up here. The Soul Stitched, one of your species, I guess, races,
ancestors. Yep, they're all we all know what everyone says. You say race, we know what you're talking about in every game. It's totally same thing.
And I really like that idea of them just like falling apart further and further with their unraveling and their seam ripping and stuff like that. I don't want to get too much into the specifics of that, but so did you, when you guys were converting these classes, was it difficult? Because I find when I see like the base Shadowdark classes, they're very straightforward. They kind of have one thing they do really well: the wizard cast spells, the carrot class spells, the fighter dies over and over again. So when you were redesigning these classes and these ancestries to Shadowdark, was there a big hurdle with that? Like what were you able to keep from the actual thing that made these classes unique? That wasn't just randomly roll on that 1d6 table to get +2 to a new stat or something along
talents,
those lines.
Yeah, the talents thing where you roll 2d6 and you get a random talent on your odd levels. So there's a couple things. One, everyone has to remember the first book that came out was Shadowdark. There's only a couple classes in there, and they are very basic, like you're saying. But as other Cursed Scrolls have come out, we've seen more complex classes come out. And this is, let's be real, this is the natural growth of any system. Like if you looked at 3.0 from the beginning and then 3.5 at the end and how much they kept making classes more complex as you go through, or even 5e nowadays. The same thing we kind of wanted to do for this. We wanted to add another level for people to play with. So it wasn't like you're just playing another fighter, another, thief, another priest. We wanted to make sure there was more for you. Ancestries have 2 choices instead of just being one. And the actual classes themselves, like I said before, we just pulled some of the stuff from that 11 to 20 range in 5e, put those into one of the game modes, pulled some of the things we really like to put into a class like the Reaper, for example, and then took the priest spells and just made that for priests that they can pick up. Because Rick, there's 2 classes in the 5e one originally in the Black Ballad, or is it just one?
Just one. It's just the godless, and then we added the second mode, the sovereign mode, right? But putting the godless as a game mode instead of it being a class allows all of the classes that you could play in Shadowdark, no matter what your character is, to experience those benefits and bonuses by having faith or lack thereof.
And I tell people, give it out during the even levels. Those are kind of dead levels right now, and I think you're going to see a lot of things play around those even levels in Shadowdark to kind of make new things to do. Have them be archetypes or prestige classes or multi-classing. Who knows what the future is going to bring for like actual arcane library. But for us, the sovereign ability, your GM can just be like, oh, you only got hit points this level. I should look to try to give out maybe some sovereign abilities to my players.
I've been screaming about that in 5e for years now. Like there's certain levels. Yeah. Several levels in 5e where you just get nothing. Give them something, man.
Yeah, it feels bad when you sit around and do nothing at a level. You're like, well, roll hit points. Okay, let's keep going. Yeah, it's weird.
How did you handle like the spell conversions and everything? Because some of the spells were, you know, 5th level spells.
Yeah, so there's only 5 tiers in Shadowdark. We only did pre-spells for this one. We kept it in the 5-tier layout. For the most part, I found that Shadowdark actually plays mathematically in very similar playground as 5e. You don't have as many additions and subtractions, but all of Shadowdark and all of 5e are based around the how do I get an advantage or how do I overcome a disadvantage by getting an advantage, right? You can't triple stack, you can't Voltron it, you can't do any of that stuff. So when I was doing the spells, I was like, okay, yes, there's 5, but if you look at them and you just cut a lot of the numbers in half, they're very similar still. Like mathematically, they're similar. And also, you have a chance of failing your spell casting in Shadowdark, which you don't have in 5e. There's no slots. You roll to cast your spell, 10 plus the tier. So that let us give things a little more power because if they lose it for the day, it's gone. You got to go take a full rest to get that spell back for the day. I have some cheat notes in there that you can do where there's some ST notes like, hey, if you want to convert other spells that we haven't from 5e, here's how you break down the level, the stat rolls, and the damages, just to help GMs convert things over if they have favorite spells, or if their characters die in 5e and they want to try Shadowdark. There are some ways to kind of take those spells and rebuild them for Shadowdark.
I almost think that's probably the best way to handle this, honestly, is like, all right, you guys died. All right, here's Shadowdark. And you're going to have to play through that. I guess the only other question that I had left was, you guys had this very expansive story, and you, like you said, it was, you know, it was a 10 chapters worth of a story. How did you work the light mechanic from Shadowdark into the story? Getting like some places were just always well lit areas all over the place.
I mean, that's still part of Shadowdark.
Yeah.
Shadowdark doesn't always have to be in pitch black. That's kind of a misnomer, I think, for a lot of people.
And yeah, that's kind of why I ask it, is because, you know, you always expect it to always be in the dark. When you mention it to a lot of people, you go play it at any table, people's, all right, we got to start the counter. I don't think I've played a game of Shadowdark where it hasn't mattered always, except for unless you're, you know, in the town doing the party stuff, you know.
So this one's a bit of deep lore on my end.
Yeah.
There's 2 answers to this one. First, the setting of the Black Ballad is in a place called the Sunless Crossing. When we were writing this was really funny, that came up on a lot of our art orders as well. There is no sun in the Sunless Crossing. So the place is already a giant storm clouded, you know, plane of purgatory. In regards of the Shadowdark book, we actually don't incorporate the light into the Black Ballad campaign. Where the Black Ballad campaign takes place is a lot around Nox Valar, the big capital city, you know, certain events and key characters and major NPCs, and that storyline plenty well exists. You could take the storyline that we wrote in the original campaign book and easily, with this book, just be like, okay, great, we're playing this, here's all the rules for all of those things, right? But there is a spot that we talk about, and that's the Storm of Broken Worlds. And the Storm of Broken Worlds surrounds the Sunless Crossing, and it is, in our lore, it's where the tombs and all of the dead, dying souls of gods reside. And that place is very, very dark, very, very dangerous, constantly having elements of unraveling. And in the Shadowdark Second Chances adventure, that is where the characters are playing at. And in that one, they absolutely need their torches.
Yeah, torches in that for sure. And then in major cities, you know, you don't have them all the time. But what a GM says, and I think this is more of a transparency of the table in Shadowdark as a whole. If someone goes, oh, we're traveling through the city, what's it like? Well, you notice all the torches on this end of the town are out. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to walk around and start lighting torches? Do you want to light your own? And now the players have got to make some resource management choices. But it also lets them know, oh, fuck, we're entering danger. There's no light here. We need to light a torch and figure out what we're going to do. And when we're dealing with the storm and the replayable adventure at the back of Second Chances, it comes up a lot where you may not have light. And it also makes you feel like you're in that huge open space in purgatory because you can only see so far as things are coming in and out of your vision, and letting the GM tell a story and change it every time you run. And there's sections that you go to within this. But the light itself, I think it kind of did its own job. We didn't really have to modify anything. Instead, we did memory loss and gave a new mechanic for the GM and players to have fun with.
I like that. That was pretty much all the things that I had. And I know, Christian, you had a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to let you ask some from here.
What you got?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be the first to admit whenever I hear we're making a conversion from 5e to Shadowdark, I'm usually groaning because
100%.
I haven't really, with rare exception, it's usually really just 5e. It's not actually Shadowdark, it's just 5e. Now, Erik, I've seen some of your stuff, I've watched some of your streams, and I've seen you kind of talk in the Shadowdark Discord. So when I saw that your name was on here, I felt a little bit better. I was like, okay, this is somebody that actually knows what Shadowdark is about, and that made me feel much better about this, because that is one of my things. Is so many of these ones I've seen, they're just like, hey, we just, we think, Shadowdark is quote unquote missing this thing from 5e, like it was somehow like someone just forgot to put in, these 5e classes or these 5e mechanics, and I find that is not the case, and so I'm always a little iffy on conversions. But having a chance to look, yeah, it is, because most of them just try to do the mechanics conversion, right? They don't take into difference that 5e is a super heroic game. You are the Avengers walking around mortal men, and Shadowdark is very much you're heroic because not because you're stronger or more powerful, but because you were the guy that had the courage to pick up the sword and go into the dungeon.
There's something more the grim dark feel.
Want three different things, right?
That feel matters a lot, especially with conversion things. Like people often don't take that into account. Like even the language used, everything along that nature matters. The Dungeon Denizens book that came out for Dungeon Crawl Classics is a good example of it. I don't remember which monster it was, but I was reading through it, and it was a 5e book originally that was converted into Dungeon Crawl Classics, and one of the monsters, they mentioned that it has tremor sense. I'm like, okay, I'm sure the mechanics are going to be different. They're going to be adjusted for DCC, but tremor sense just isn't a thing in Dungeon Crawl Classics. Change the wording. Make it feel like it should.
Yeah, I think that's one of the funnest things about Shadowdark. And Rick and I talked about this a lot when we went through the monster section of the book. So we knew that we had some really, really fucking powerful monsters in the Black Ballad. And my answer was, good. Don't fight it. You don't get experience from fighting things. Be smart. Don't run in there with your sword drawn to fight a goddess. Like, what is wrong with you? Have you not learned anything? And all the many times you've died and came back? But there's some stuff behind it that's cool. We gave lower level stuff like level 6. There's so many level 1 to 3 monsters. So we gave some level 6s. We kept the hit points right. We kept the alignment. We gave some fun abilities. I think the most fun part about writing Black Ballad monsters is Shadowdark likes when you give them things that sound unique, feel like the creature, and isn't just it casts daylight. Like we know. We know that people can cast lightning bolt.
That was always fun, even as a studio, as Storytellers Forge. We actually have a ban on spells in monster stat blocks. Because we want, one, I don't want to create more work for other storytellers. Two, it's more fun to come up with ridiculously cool, iconic abilities for monsters. And because those are the things that your players are going to remember at the table anyway, right? And those, like when Erik took a look at those, he was like, wait, these are cool. We can play with these.
Yeah, I was like, why make something cast Fireball for the 40th time?
It Misty Steps again.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it also makes it, once your monster does something that the players recognize, it becomes immediately less frightening, right? Oh, cast Fireball. I know what that is, and it's not scary. When it does some unique ability that is not casting Fireball, that creates a blaze of hellish fire with, skulls of the damned in it, then you're like, I don't know what this thing is doing. This feels a little weird. What else might it be able to do that I don't know about?
And Shadowdark exists in a lot of absolutes, which I really enjoy. And what I mean by that is if you cast sleep in Shadowdark, if you're X level or lower, you're just going the fuck to sleep. Like nap time formula, Samuel L. Jackson going to sleep. Like that is what happens with spells in this game. But if you're above that, they shrug it off and it's a level check. Your players go, oh, we stepped in too far. And I wanted to make sure we had some fun things like that. Like the Accursed Guard in this, they have an Eldritch Blast because we wanted to let the name stay for people who are playing 5e so they know what an Eldritch Blast is. It does straight damage. We wanted to give them something that was similar, but nothing else in there is. They have an Armor of Agony. They have a Soul Step where they can step from one soul to another. They have True Seeker where they just know if you're lying and then it refreshes on a 1 in 6. Like we gave them some fun things, and they even have a secret, a pact that you roll. Like, what secret do you want them to have? Which one is it? And then this is the benefit they get if they are carrying that secret with them. And the other thing that I changed, me talking to Cree in the Shadowdark Discord, and
Yep.
I'm in there a decent amount doing stuff. Him and I are big fans of layout and design, and we want to make sure that things make sense. So people can be as mad or love it. We got rid of charisma and put a Z because having to put a CH in a stat block is an extra letter that unbalances the entire look. So we went with the Z concept for it. We made your single sheets very easy and readable, or if you print them, you just have a sheet there for your monsters. Everything's on that sheet really nice and clean. And then I think the other one, Rick, when we were talking, was making sure we had the Black Ballad flavor, giving some color to it. And we color coded the chapters.
Color coding the
instead
chapters.
of just going.
And the other one was descriptive text, because that's something we do in all of our books. Just the little like metal sentences or like bits of like flavor and world lore that pepper throughout that leave a lot of open endings, but at least add something cool to it. That was always a big.
And we gave some high level monsters too.
Yeah, I'll
10s,
say
15s, and 18s in here.
Yeah.
So just
no,
a
I
quick-
really actually like the layout and the design. The fact that you guys have kept to something that you've walked that tightrope where it feels like Shadowdark. It looks like Shadowdark, but is distinct from core Shadowdark. It's clearly its own thing, and it has its own design language, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Though
That's
I
what
will
Kelsey
say
said
I
with
am
her
one of the
trade
people
dress.
that, yeah,
She said,
Yeah,
don't use
I agree.
ours, make your own. And we went, fucking fine. We
Yeah.
will.
Though I will say, I'll admit that I was one of the people that saw the Z and I was like, oh man, just because
I was
If you
too.
did layout, though, you would love it.
I
Sure.
was too.
I don't.
Our editor also said the same thing. Everybody else down the spectrum said the same thing until we got to Christian, who did the layout for the project, and was like, oh, I get it. All of these line up exactly here. And we're like, yes, but it doesn't make sense. What does the Z do with charisma? And trust me, this was an internal argument.
Oh, yeah.
And Eric was like, it's
I
the
stood
Riz.
my ground.
It's the Riz,
man.
And I'm like,
You know what
son
it
of a
is. It's in the word. Look, here, I could have solved this. Gary, wherever you are in your grave, if you are listening to this, you're coming back for your second chance. Can you rename charisma to something not a C? I'm just saying, guy. Like, just don't use the same letters in your stat blocks. But no, like, that was really it. We've been dealing with it since first edition. And what are you going to do? Comeliness? Well, that's still C. That doesn't, you have to change constitution. What's that going to be? Stamina? Like, the arguments just go back and forth.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do something that was unique. And I asked Nick, and he's like, do it. So we went with it. People don't like it at first. And then when you get stat blocks that aren't marred, and even if we don't do the stat block style, if it's the traditional Shadowdark stat block style, it even proves that you, a lot of times, gain an entire line because a word doesn't get bumped down. Makes a huge difference.
I was gonna say
It's a minor nitpick at the end of the day. A real nitpick with it
You got
is
a
really
Sharpie?
not the
Draw a
Z.
C.
Yeah. Is that it's something you have to think about if you're using this and core Shadowdark stuff, then you have two slightly different things. But at the end of the day, like, we're all,
And the other reason we
experienced
needed it
GMs
is how I wanted to write DCs. I don't want to write wisdom, strength out every time. That's another 3 letters. I want to be able to just put the first letter, DC, number. I want it really clean and together so that when you're going through, if we cap things, because capitalizing is a normal way to write things in a lot of books that are a mechanic terminology, just putting DDC, you know it's dexterity DC. I'm not going to put big C, lower H, DC to put charisma.
So I had a quick question for you then. So much like how like Fallout has special, and it's the same thing. Now that we
Mhm.
have the SCIWZ, is there a word there that we can start using and calling?
Yeah, it's
this?
the Riz. It's charisma.
No.
Riz.
The whole staple.
the acronym.
Like Fallout special. Fallout is special, and that's awesome. So how can we take the SDCIWZ and make that a single word? All I can
I
think
don't
of
know.
is like Skid Whiz, but that probably doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'd have to play with that. I haven't actually thought about that yet. I know
Yeah.
that when Pathfinder 2 redid theirs, they made the ABC block. Like that was the whole idea of like abilities, bonus. Like they went through the ABCs of making a character. I don't know what I would call it. I don't know. Rick, that's your
We
job
gotta
now.
figure it. No,
That is, but that requires so much coffee and a Tool soundtrack on in the background for me to play around with some freaking word count like that.
Yep. It would be funny. Maybe we'll come up with something during. I can see it happen on one of our panels where one of us just says something, and that'll end up being what it is
Yeah,
from here on out.
and then start
Yeah.
pushing it out everywhere, and slowly but surely you'll take it over, and then
Yes.
eventually, if you're lucky, D&D 6th edition will have it.
So
that's a
I will,
conversation
one of
for
the
a
things
different year.
I liked looking through this was one of the other, and this goes along with conversions from 5e and other stuff that I've seen, is a lot of times whenever somebody does new classes from Shadowdark, the thing I tend to see is it becomes a power fantasy, or it
Mhm.
becomes something that steps on the toes of what's already existing in Shadowdark. And I was very pleasantly surprised. This does not do that. And in fact, it does one of the things I think is the best use of new classes in Shadowdark is that it is world building in the class.
Correct.
Like it is something unique to the setting that says something about where you are and what kind of game you are playing by doing that. And
that was a
I think
requirement for
this
Rick.
hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
Rick wanted a class that felt like story, and we did it.
Yeah. That was
both
that one
the
was,
I think both the Godless
Right.
and the Reaper really excel in that. Neither of those step on the toes of anything that exists in Shadowdark. They're both very unique, and they really are tied into the world and tell you something about what kind of game you're playing and what kind of world you are existing in. And those are fantastic.
Yeah, not making the Godless a paladin. That was goal number one. Like we didn't want to make a paladin. We knew Kelsey was making one. We didn't want to make a knight. Like we really had something else to make out of this that was a priest that was godless. So we had to come up with some ways to do it. And it was a lot of fun designing those two classes. I love class building. My own setting that's in our Kickstarter we're getting ready to do as an add-on. I made sure all my classes did not step on the toes of other classes. I want to give a new experience to a player who wants to play a new class. And if it's a setting, it should, exactly like you say, feel like a piece of the setting.
yeah, and I'm always a big fan of classes that feel like they belong in the world from a living narrative that are tied to that world, and like as they progress, there's an sort of like a marriage between how they shape the world and how their class gets their power. Like I like that kind of class design, but I did not start off in D&D, right? I started off in every other game system before I came there.
Yeah.
So you started in what other? I oftentimes ask, when did our guests start playing? I think in this case, I'm going to ask, what system did you start with?
I started with, and this is going to come as a big shocker to the person with the Black Ballad and a few other things that I've written, but I started with Wraith the Oblivion.
Okay, this tracks.
That's
Yep.
The first. Go ahead.
Yeah. So between the Black Ballad, my own Seventh Age series, the fact that I got to write on Wraith, doing the Crow RPG, Universal Soldier, the joke has become I write sarcastic things about dead things at this point. But I literally, before I was working at Geek and Sundry doing the GM tips, I had probably played everything from like Rifts to Savage Worlds to Vampire the Masquerade through like Delirium, homebrew systems, GURPS, Big Ass Small Mouse, Cyberpunk, Shadowrun, Eclipse Phase. The list was endless, except for D&D. So when I was at Geek and Sundry, and Terry Licoro asked, like, she was the chief editor, was like, "Hey, do we have somebody who plays anything else besides D&D?" And it was like me and my friend Rob were the ones who raised our hands, and she was like, "Great, you're taking GM tips. Let's go."
I mean, it's almost like a badge of honor. At that point, you never want to play D&D just so you can continue to say that you've never played it.
At some point, a friend that would bring over crave cases of White Castle got us hooked eventually on 3.5. So eventually it was a thing. It was a great game.
Yeah. Yeah, when
Mine was
I
first edition. I stole my uncle's signed monster manual, and I ran whatever my hack version of first edition was for D&D. And then I think for many years it was D&D in the summer, FOSSA games in the winter. So like back then it was MechWarrior, BattleTech, Shadowrun. And then we went on a really big Palladium kick for a while, and Battle Lords for a long time, playing some real wild stuff with those. But when I realized I didn't want to play games anymore, I wanted to write and run games. No one had a choice. They played whatever the fuck I wanted to play. So we just played everything under the sun we could find, from Cyberpunk to you name it.
Yep, that sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
And it puts my tabletop journey to shame, which is just 4E5 done. So,
well, hey, look, at least you upgraded with your second system.
Hey,
maybe.
Yeah.
Actually,
now you're playing Shadowdark.
4E brought a lot of stuff for us. A lot of fun stuff. It actually did come out of 4E if people want to admit it or not.
A lot of it made it into 5E.
Yep.
I mean,
Ritual
I
skill
did not have a
challenges.
single I didn't have a single difficulty going from 4E to 5E at all as a DM. It's the same game to me. And
almost every
people
game
are
is a target number.
Yeah. People are shocked when I say that, but man, I kind of do miss 4E sometimes. I'm the only one.
Yep.
Go take a look at Draw Steel.
Yeah. Well, that's not true. I did play the Fantasy Flight Edge of the Empire, the Star Wars system they had.
Genesis system's a riot, man.
Yeah.
Like, I have run so many of them. Like, my favorites are still 10 Candles and Dread. I like the one-shot horrors,
same.
right? But I've also killed players in Legend of the Five Rings on the damn heritage tables before their characters were even being made, right? So, like,
Traveler in
it's
Cyberpunk, man, making your character you die.
Yeah. But all of this stuff is why after when our studio Storytellers Forge got started after past events and things, we wanted to make that's actually why we started the Black Ballad. Is I was like, what is one game that everybody could have on their bookshelf, no matter what game system you were playing? And it was like, well, everybody dies eventually in every game. And so Erik has run it for Shadowrun. I've run the Black Ballad for Vampire the Masquerade. Like, we've run it for other systems and other settings. And when you pull them into the world, well, then you can just play whatever game you wanted to play.
I think the coolest thing that's happened running the adventure is the first group that died. They're getting ready to die again and go back, and it's been a couple sessions, and they're like, "Oh wait, so we got out, we forgot whatever's there, but when we go back in, we remember everything." I was like, like, so we know some of the ways out of here. I'm like, I mean, if it's the same and you find the right path, like, oh, we're so screwed. We burned so many bridges when we were there. And I'm like, that's right. You absolutely burned bridges. So now they have to find a way out again. Like, they were not friendly to the person that can help get them out at all. So we'll see how this goes when they go back to them.
Oh, man. DMs don't kill players. Players kill players.
I guess one of the differences, I think, generally between 5e and not just Shadowdark, but other old school games is 5e games tend to be kind of paint by the numbers, right? You follow the story from point A to point B to point C to point D, and it's just a linear progression of you're flipping the pages and going to the next thing. Whereas other types of games tend to be very much open-ended, right? It's about what do the players decide to do. I'm not really throwing a plot at you so much as I'm putting a situation out there and then seeing what you do, and the story comes from the actions that the PCs take, and then the reaction to those actions from them around you. So how do you guys play with that in the Black Ballad?
My
This is you,
dear
Rick.
Coffee Mancer host, thank you for this question. But you understand that I give entire panels on the thesis of storycraft and write novels for a living. This I could go on a whole rant. The whole reason, the
You guys have a
very
mute
first
button for Rick, right? Just in
yes,
case
you
this
could
goes
just
too long.
turn me off now, all right? Because this is a whole thing. The whole reason I even wrote the Red Opera, Last Days of the Warlock, as the first campaign book we wrote for 5e, is the adventures were always very narrative and linear, and I wanted to bring other styles of narrative storytelling into 5e because they were the kind of games that I would play. So, how do you address this at the table? Well, the first is that you stop playing lead the hook with like your players. They don't need to go to the tavern to get the quest to go do the thing to kill the goblins, right? It's all about establishing villains and motives and playing around with one very simple concept that if your players take no action, the world that they have is inevitably going to change. Because when you're writing a game book, it is very different than storytelling a game book. You storytellers can take the Black Ballad, you can rip it to shreds, use a few concepts, and then plug and play with what you want to use. But when you're writing a campaign book, I have no idea what any of you are going to do. So the way that I structure these things is we create this multiple choice ending at the end of the campaign. We get our hook, and then at the end of the Black Ballad, even if you flip to it, there's 4 different endings. And then there's a 5th ending that is here's all the themes that you need to craft an ending in this setting based off your players' choices. Once I have those 2 bookends, it's easier to write the rest of the plot in between that are simply bookend plot points. Your players don't have to go from point A to point B to point C. When you, as the storyteller, are ready for the next cataclysm to shake the world, you launch that plot point. Now, if the players get involved with that, that's great. If they ignore it, you just let them ignore it and go run around the world. And then when you're ready for the next chapter, you just drop in the next thing that's going to happen. And then if they ignore that too, great. But you know what? Hey, the sky is blood red and it's raining souls, and there's nothing wrong, guys. We're totally fine. We actually
Keep
have
ignoring
a
it.
we have a hidden campaign for the Black Ballad called Black Ballad B-side. And the whole premise of the campaign is you aren't the heroes who got to the main plot first. You're the ones who showed up a day later after shit already hit the fan. And the whole point is you're wandering around the city a day after the main heroes are handling everything, or trying to. And things just keep getting worse and worse till eventually you're defending your park bench with your pigeons and your like dumpster fires with a bunch of homeless people, like as the realm is going through things. You can run stories in so many different ways, and you can tell stories in so many different ways. And doing linear plot threads in a game book and a lot of 5e storytelling rather than a sandbox storytelling is not very exciting. It's very easy to enter. But I would challenge that it's more fun and better for a long-term game chronicle if you actually give your players a bit of a challenge, you incentivize them to engage in your plot line. And you do that through a compelling freaking villain and stakes that matter. By having everything actually have a consequence or a matter, and you can tie that to the character's personal like stories, and you just leave the hooks there for the storyteller. You trust the storyteller to take the written material and put it in play.
Yeah.
That is the
Emergent
fastest I
plays.
could give that rant. Sorry.
Well, that was our argument when we started, is that Shadowdark allows people to do emergent play instead of linear or a poor man's sandbox. And the setting, because of Kelsey and her team, already teaches you how to do more of an open format emergent storytelling play. Like everyone thinks it's just OSR. And it's really baseline to kind of say that it's an elevated version of what they have learned as old school gamers and how to bring it into modern design. And that was the biggest conversation I think we had during this whole thing. It was keeping the Z and how you format an adventure for Shadowdark to make it repeatable. I think that was the two biggest conversations we probably had, Rick, was figuring that out. Like, no, the tables are not random the way you think they're random anymore. They're weighted and serve purpose in driving the emergent narrative. Once we got that, it was kind of like off to the races.
And trust me, I pushed back on Eric that like, no, I'm gonna write some stat blocks or some text with descriptive bits in here. All right, like I'm doing the thing, like you know.
It was fun. It was a very, and we got it down to like, I don't know, I think the adventure's like 10 pages or something like that. It's not that much. It's a very clean and easy run.
It's a much smaller book. Yeah.
Yeah, 72 pages for the whole book.
But it's meant to be. You're meant to be able to throw it on the table as a threat to your players, right?
Well, it was going to be 15 pages originally, and then we realized that's not going to happen.
So
well, while you were doing that rant about the story, I just couldn't only think of my own campaign, the Worldborn Den that Christian was pitching at the very start. The synopsis is there's a planet in the sky above Faerun that's coming down. It's summoning undead on the planet. My players have to fix it. That's the general story, and I kind of let my players choose how they want to go around to try to solve this, how deep they are, because they're just people from Waterdeep. What are they going to do? You know, even though they've already stopped a demonic incursion and they've defeated Manchun, what are these high-level people of Waterdeep going to do? And through the story, my wife has bought a cat cafe. I'm sorry, a player of mine has got a cat cafe. Happens to be my wife, and that's all she wants to do now is just be at the cat cafe. I'm like, but there's a giant star in the sky that's going to kill your cat. She's like, okay, well, maybe I'll go help them. But that's
She turned your game into a cozy game.
I did by accident. How do I get out of it?
Rule number 1, never give an animal companion. Rule number 1, there are no other rules.
She has several now, so I've definitely broken that rule.
No.
There's a sewer kitty, there's the black kitty, there's 2 gray kitties, there's a mimic kitty, and they just found a celestial, what was it, quasilot that turned into a frog kitty.
Great.
So I'm doomed.
So you're crashing
have you thought about
the
killing off
planet
all your
Purgatory.
Play characters, right?
Yeah.
Have I thought? Yes.
There's
Well, now's the
there's
time.
No animals. Yeah, there's no animals in the Sunless Crossing because
There you
pets
go.
don't go to purgatory.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's a harsh reality for her to learn.
Yo, crash that Purgatory planet into it. Just take the Sunless Crossing, crash it right in the middle of Waterdeep.
You
Make
know
sure
why
she does
dogs?
not listen to this episode, though.
Yes, this is in the Black Ballad proper. Do you know why dogs don't go to purgatory?
All dogs
They
go
go
to
to
heaven.
heaven.
All dogs go to heaven. They don't go to this
Jesus.
place.
Yeah, I saw the remaking. Was it Land Before Time? They're remaking that into a CG movie. I'm waiting for them to remake All Dogs Go to Heaven.
All dogs go to heaven.
And
There are no cats in America.
What else you got, Christian?
Let's see here.
You said you had enough questions for the whole hour, so
I
don't disappoint.
never said that. I said I had a. I said I would ask a few questions because I was going to be the skeptic, but that was when I first saw it. That was before I saw Eric was attached to it.
Skeptic away, man. That's the whole point. I only get better through constructive criticism. So
No, that's the reason I asked the question about the story. Having read through this, the preview you guys provided, I was actually feeling much better about it. But I wanted to give you guys a chance to say that because that is one of the most common things I see, and I'm sure you've seen it, Eric, on the Shadowdark Discord. Is anytime there's a conversion from 5e, people are always like, "Oh, 5e's a railroad, and they're just going to tell you to go through here." So I wanted to give you guys the chance to tell you that that was not going to happen, so everyone could see that this is you understand what Shadowdark is supposed to be and what kind of game it can play, and that you're writing right into that.
Yeah, there's a place for conversions. I think converters we need them in the hobby to do stuff. But this is I always reference Knave because I think Knave is one of the best toolboxes that you can have next to you as a GM, no matter what you're running in a fantasy-based game, gritty or high, doesn't matter. The tables that are in there, what's available, it's just a toolbox. And we wanted to be able to give people who played Black Ballad or who are interested in Black Ballad, and I wanted it to be Shadowdark. I think it's a great system. It's a marriage that makes a good kid. You know what I mean? Like you get something amazing out of this. And I wanted to make sure we were giving that thing exactly. A toolbox showing you how we make our weapons, our items, some new gear, new ancestries, new spells, new classes, new play modes, new monsters, and an adventure. And we're like, look, here you go. 72 pages. This is a sample. If you like this, we're going to keep making more Shadowdark stuff. Like, that's the plan. We have other adventures planned and a really cool kind of help us make something amazing campaign that we're going to do ramping up into this Kickstarter.
Yeah, because there's other stuff that is all with this as well, beyond the book, right? I mean, heck, even this book, even if you aren't playing Black Ballad proper, this thing comes with a freaking soundtrack. And then we have the audio narration that goes in there for like the Swarm of Souls and things that players heal for like immersion. And then there's novels, like, and like things set within the Black Ballad like universe for like just that part. But the storylines and the campaigns and the campaign that Erik is talking about, cannot wait for that.
So when it came to like developing this Kickstarter and your original Kickstarter, other than probably, was that your first Kickstarter? The first time you kicked Black Ballad?
Is that it's first? Yes. So the Black Ballad is actually the project that launched our studio. We've all been involved in other studios and other projects, but that is our like main flagship one. So it goes Black. Oh God, go ahead.
So was it easier to do it this time with Shadowdark as the backing for the book versus the 5e side?
No, Kickstarters are a whole different part of the industry, and the building of them is
a job within a job that wears a hat with a dude who looks like another dude.
It doesn't matter if it's a 72 page, or smaller like book with, some extra stuff that goes on top of it. Versus, the original Black Ballad mega campaign book, right? Which was written for its own thing. They both still require, 6 to 8 months. Like, we've been working on this Black Ballad Shadowdark for like better part of a year, right? Like almost a full year. Last January is when we had the first draft done, and now we started editorial, right? So to be over a year in production before we're going to crowdfunding, and that's the best part about this Kickstarter. We're already done, and it's the first time us as a studio can actually go to a crowdfunding campaign and say, we need help with the print run, but you don't have to wait another 2 years and wonder whether or not this is going to come out. And but building a Kickstarter is always a 6-month process, right? And it doesn't matter the size of the book.
Okay.
I mean, the ramp up, getting interviews done, getting all your media kits done, getting a press kit done, making sure everything looks the right way. Because also, you may be doing a Kickstarter after a project's been around for a while. Now you have to go back and kind of rediscover the project for yourself again. This was cool because it was hands-on the whole time. First time we're going to be completed with something, just shipping it after the backer kit's done. You get the PDF, and then it goes to print. Like, we're ready to take it to a print run. Right now we're doing hyperlinks and some basic just modifications, fixing errors. The cool thing about it being done early like this is it allows us to focus on the Kickstarter more than you normally would without feeling the burnout. The Kickstarter tour is like jumping in a van and doing a band tour around the fucking United States. It is taxing and tiring because you are, like, today, this is the second time we are recording today for an interview. And then you're doing all the other press stuff around it as well. This has allowed us to put like as much effort into making sure this kid graduates as possible.
And I do want to apologize too for making this this recording of the audio. It will come out on Tuesday. We're recording on Sunday normally, and it's during the Super Bowl. And I had no idea the Super Bowl was even happening today when I first communicated this out to our little team here. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, February 8th seems great." And then like, my wife was like, "Are you gonna watch the Super Bowl with me?" I was like, that's tonight."
Whoops. Yeah, I hate to tell you this. It's number 60. One team wins. There will be a halftime show. The game will end, and you'll still have the same amount of food in the house.
Yeah, and somebody and a ball shaped like an egg will move around at various points.
Yeah, absolutely.
I live in Alabama. Football season's already over with. So.
Hockey's not on tonight. I'm fine.
I got a couple questions, one Kickstarter related and one design related.
Sure.
Which guys do you want first?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
I'm going with Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Okay. I see a lot of stuff. A lot of Kickstarters. I guess I don't know if it's an enticement thing or it's just I hope they can do more. How do you guys feel about stretch goals? Sometimes I see Kickstarters get bogged down in stretch goals, and that tends to be the thing that delays them, is doing too many stretch goals, and then you bite
Yeah.
off more than you can chew, and then you end up with precs that are unrelated, like, oh, we were going to do a zine, and now we're doing miniatures and dice and a plushie and a mug. And how do you guys
I
feel
guess,
about that? And do you plan on using stretch goals in yours?
yeah, since your
So-
book's already done, essentially.
Since many moons ago, when I was working at Geek and Sundry, I saw this like very folk metal based RPG that advertises itself like, hey, the book's done, it's coming out, and it was a very simple Kickstarter. There was 2 tiers, and I was like, I like that. They still had stretch goals and other things, but it was a very simple, efficient Kickstarter. So my theory here, and then what we're going to try, is we are not using stretch goals at all, and we're going to see if this actually makes an impact, because I see the same stretch goals just add a lot of problems, and I think it's a level of enticement, but the studios behind the scenes can get mired down by them, or the stretch goals are things that are already made and it's just an advertising gimmick. And so we're not using any stretch goals at all, intentionally, because one, it's metal, it's simple, and it's quick, right?
Buy our album. End of statement. Like,
I love it.
All right.
yeah. No, we
got-
talked about stretch goals briefly, and that conversation was short, Rick. Like,
What we ended up doing for enticement was the contest idea. And
Yeah, so
like,
what is the contest?
so
do
we
you
have
want to say it,
worked
Eric? Go for
at
it.
a lot of booths. Well, we have worked at a lot of booths over the years. Him and I, like, I was doing anywhere between 20 to 30 conventions a year for a few years in a row for different companies. Rick does the TTRPG novel circuit as well, and writer's circuit. Like, we've sat behind a lot of tables. We realized the story we always hear from people, and there's a running kind of fun joke between all of them, is, someone comes up and they want to tell you about their character. We decided for this Kickstarter, we're going to do a ramp up through it. We want to know your favorite death. We don't care if it's a NPC, PC, monster, death of a world, a cafe kitty shop, whatever it may be. We don't care what the favorite death is. We want to hear what it is. We're going to pick our favorite 3, and Rick and I were talking about making something awesome with it, with some upcoming. Do we want to say what we're doing?
Oh yeah, no, that's
already
already in the works. It's already being written. We are writing a Black Ballad different campaign, levels 1 through 10 in Shadowdark, and we're going to take the submissions from like the top 3, and we're going to bake them into that like campaign, and immortalize them that way. The other theory that we had that we might actually do, and this was just an idea, is we're going to take all of the submissions regardless, and we're going to throw them up in a cool layout, and we're just going to make it a free download on our website. So if you ever need NPCs in the world of the Sunless Crossing for your players to encounter, here is everybody from around the world, or everybody who submitted their characters and how they died.
Yeah, it'd be like their background to steal, and a memory, and how they died, so you can like steal that stuff from them in the Sunless Crossing.
Have I got 3 good character deaths for you?
There you go. See, like, that's the thing. I think GMs will have a lot to say. I think players, because we sat around talking about our favorite deaths in games as like LARPers and as GMs, and things that we've had happen to our favorite NPCs. We've all had that villain that should have got the monologue and they lasted 1 round as they alpha strike them. Like, there's always a story behind that. And I think it's more evocative than hearing about your favorite paladin, wizard, ranger. I think the way they died is the true hero story. Like, they went down doing something important, or they died in character creation and Traveler, and it was hilarious, and it literally sidelined your entire game that night. Those are the moments we want. We do this for community and fun, and those moments can be really, really fun.
Agreed.
So that's how we're going to try to do something instead of stretch goals. And because we're going to take them, we're going to use them for something, and just come get engaged. Tell us your favorite deaths.
And we're going to interact. We're going to do, like, we've set up on my end an OBS studio where we just call in. It's got vertical and horizontal. We're doing a whole series about behind making a Kickstarter and what we do. We've already got 2 filmed. We're filming some more of those to start coming out here probably towards the mid to end of this month, and then throughout March, because we want people to see what we're doing. Because to us, no stretch goals and just really good add-ons is how we do this. We're going to go through how we did it, how we made this product over the course of a year, like what the process was behind it. And then we're going to answer some of the best deaths, I think, and put them up almost like reading obituaries.
Very cool. When does the Kickstarter go live?
March 17th.
Ooh, that's close.
Hey, Rick, what day is that? Do you remember?
It also happens to be St. Patrick's Day. Yes.
Someone else also doesn't look at calendars. Don't feel bad.
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah. So, well,
If I
you
had
can
to
always go
drive down to
celebrate at the
Chicago
bar.
for our party, I don't want to drive from Milwaukee to Chicago on St. Patrick's Day.
No.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It
that might
won't
be
be on St. Patrick's Day. We'll find a different day for that. Yeah, booking a launch party out at a bar turns
I was
out
like,
became
what
a
the
quickly
fuck are you
impossible
doing?
task.
I was laughing so hard. Oh my gosh.
So Jay and Dan, you guys got any questions about the Black Ballad or the
No,
conversion or anything?
I thought Christian still had one more.
Yeah, he had a design
yeah,
question left.
Oh yeah, he had a design question left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could throw that out there. Spells. You guys have free spells in this one. 5e tends to handle spells very different from Shadowdark. 5e has things like, if you're this level, you can do this extra with spells, or Shadowdark is very unforgiving, and like when a spell affects an area, it just affects an area. It's not, it only affects your allies in the area. It's just nope. If you hit that spell, it's getting everybody, not just only your friends or only the bad guys. Your friends are safe in this terrible thing, or So how do you? And then dealing with spells from 1 to 9, whereas you have tiers 1 to 5 in Shadowdark, and the power level of those spells tends to be lesser. So how did you guys deal with that? And did you carry over any of those things from 5e, or did you try to stay true to the way that spells already operate in Shadowdark?
No, I didn't carry anything over from 5e. I converted the thematical feel of the spells more than I did the mechanical aspects. Now, granted, damage and things like that, you want to scale it appropriately. I think the biggest part for this was actually understanding what the spells were, because Rick made a bunch of spells that were not like in domains, really. They were kind of their own monster when these spells were originally designed. Like Envious Desire and Hand of Jealousy are not something you normally see as a pre-spell anywhere. So I think that was our first conversation, was like, what in the hell are these spells, Rick? Why are these categorized so wildly before I break them down and try to figure out how to make sense of this? And then we did tiers. So yeah, it's 9, but really, if you chop the spell level in half, you basically get it in the right ballpark. That's something I figured out pretty quickly. There are really not a lot of stat rolls in this game unless you're casting the spell. There's really no saves or ability rolls for stuff. So I wash those and put levels in when they're kind of necessary, similar to you see with like sleep or charm. And then we have a breakdown on one of the pages too that says if there's other pages, the spells you want to bring over from the Black Ballad, maybe in other releases or from the Red Opera or whatever it may be, we give you a way to do that as well. But to me, it was keeping the durations right, keeping the ranges right from the near to double near to if it's an action or not. If there is a save for some reason, because some do have them, I made sure they're in there and they're very clean. But chopping it in half was really like, that's the key. Everyone thinks it's really complicated for spells, but it's just you take that thing and you chop it in half. If it was an 8, it's a 4 now. If it was an 8th level spell. If it was a 2, make it a 1 unless it's really damaging, maybe make it a 2. So overall, that I think the spells were the easiest part, to be real. Once I understood what Rick was trying to build with them, because they are definitely flavorful, is how I would say it. They are flavorful spells.
I agree with that. So if you guys, it sounds like you guys have further plans for Shadowdark.
I mean, hoping this does what we wanted to do. Absolutely. Right. We're already doing the writing for the story stuff. So
do you consider, like, if you're going to make further things from Shadowdark, do you consider this zine here as kind of your kind of fundamental of you'll need this to play those, or are you thinking whatever you make, you can just jump in?
Now, you will need this, and I do know that. For what we're designing in the Black Ballad, we are going to be
the primer.
referencing this. Yeah, this book. Like, sure, they'll be contained with like maybe a new monster, something else in the future adventures, but this is the game modes, the spells, the elements that are here in the Sunless Crossing are important. And yes, obviously we can expand upon it, but for us, for that particular adventure path, yes, it's going to be keyed off this guy's second chances.
Yeah, because you're gonna need the ancestries and the classes and the, like you're saying, the game modes and even the magical items and stuff, which are brought over in your monster block. So this is kind of like the toolkit for the players and GMs to jumpstart their campaign.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I enjoyed the magic items you guys make. I like that you talk about curses and talk about curses that should be interesting, not just punishing.
Yep.
I love seeing somebody else that gets that.
Yeah, I think that magical items should be a solution to the problem you don't know yet. Like that's how I see magical items a lot of times in OSR and in Shadowdark. The benefit and the curse should play with each other well, and it should give you something fun to do. And the curses should be like, yeah, it happened to me, but it's kind of cool and I'm okay with it. Like that's the stuff we wanted for a lot of these magical items.
So where can the listeners find more details about the Black Ballad, the Shadowdark campaign, and I guess the Storytelling Forge?
Storytellersforge.com or at ST Forge Studios on every platform. Our Discord's pretty hopping. Our website's there. The Kickstarter preview page is up. But on our website, you have all of our social links, so you can find us at any of the platforms from like TikTok through blog posts and whatnot. We actually do a pretty healthy amount with blog posts on our website. I actually would like people to read them because we actually do world building and like here's how you write an adventure and here's the behind the scenes of a Kickstarter. It's just internet blog posts these days kind of just
I think they're coming back though, personally.
No, I'm excited to hear that. I love a good blog.
So that's what we do. That's where most of our stuff is at. Erik,
and our names everywhere. Like I'm the only Erik Frankhouse in the world, so it's not hard to find me.
Yeah. You type in if you like to read sarcastic novels about the end of the world. Technically, my third novel just published today. But you can just look at my name, Rick Heinz, on the internet, and you'll find me or a hockey player.
Retired.
Nice.
I think he was part of the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Canucks or something like that, if I remember correctly. 50s, born in the 50s.
Okay.
But yeah, no, we're everywhere under our names. We figured branding ourselves was easier than making you chase a bunch of companies.
So go ahead, Chris.
I said, I was just going to end it with the last couple questions we always ask everybody.
No, I was going to go ahead and do that. So
right.
I'm sure Chris didn't tell you guys before the podcast because he forgot.
Not at all.
Yeah, because Craig forgot everything.
Someone today?
No. Well, maybe you guys. So one of the last question we usually ask our guests is for you to tell us a grumpy story, since we are in fact the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. And the story could be of you as a player, of you as a game master. It could be something your players did. It could be a game that you've run. It could be a rule that you hate, or a system or a setting. It can literally be anything tabletop role-playing game related. So if one of you guys wants to step up and bite the bullet and go first.
Rick, do we just go with the common knitter? Do we just do the knitter story?
No,
Didn't you have the knitter? Okay, go ahead. If you're not doing, I'll do the knitting story then.
Okay. Wait a minute. No. Go ahead. Do it. You go first.
All right.
Yes.
So we were at a convention, and many people have ran into this over the years, but I love to sit down and play with new people and have fun. And I like teaching people new games. I like teaching people to be a better storyteller, better game master. Like my tag has always been watch, listen, learn, be a better gamer. But some people don't fucking listen to that. and we're playing a game, and there are 7 people at this table, and the person who's not paying attention, every time I come around to this wizard player, it's always a fucking wizard.
Always.
I love wizards as a player, but I am ready. Every time it gets to this wizard, we'd have to repeat all 6 of the people's actions before we get to them. Why, you would ask? Because they're knitting the entire time they're at the table at a convention instead of paying attention. I get having to focus on other things. I get people who need to do that. But you usually are doing that so you can focus on the game, and you're not focusing on the fucking game. We're all here to play a game. We can't even get through the first freaking dungeon room because of you. We repeated 6 other people's turns 10 times. That is too many times. Why are you here if you don't want to play with us? If you just want to knit. Well, go buy your knit stuff. Your stuff looks awesome. But for fuck's sake, play the game when you're at the table. I'm just saying.
That's a great rant.
The best part about that too is I actually have my in my local gaming store when I run Adventures League, I have a player that all she does is knits, but it's the complete opposite of all the people at the table. She's the most dialed in.
Same.
She knows exactly what's going on at all times. Knows exactly what she's gonna do. She'll be knitting and then like just flick the die and like roll it and just be on the way. She was at the store tonight because they're doing the Super Bowl like party thing, and they had a chili cook-off. She was pictured behind the chili cook-off she brought in, just knitting away. She did
Some people can multitask, others can't. If you can't, don't do that to me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nowadays, nowadays it's cell phones, but yeah.
This was like 3 years ago. But you're right, though. We have someone in our co-op that knits, and she's amazing and pays attention. This was not the case. I have 100 of these, but go ahead, Rick. I used to do an angry rant every week on my podcast.
I used to have this whole me and one of the other editors on the Black Ballad wanted to start our own blog series because we used to run vampire live action games, and we would be submitted the worst backgrounds ever, and the amount of rants, and we wanted to just like live read like people's backgrounds that were just like, no, this is not allowed. This is not a playable character. This is a walking god with a sex cult. You are not allowed to take this in. But my grumpy story is that to this day, I am still banned from running dream sequences in live action games because I happen to, have about a 300-person Vampire the Masquerade game that was basically model UN, and it was very high costume, high theme, full. We rented out locations. It was at a bar. It was wonderful, and the game would play once every month. And on the ninth month, I was like, I got a brilliant idea. I'm going to have my archvillain put everybody to sleep to learn all their secret plans and see what everybody's up to. And I won all my chops, and I didn't tell that to any of my players. And they know the game is going to end the next month. And right near the middle of the game session, I tell all my players, okay, you all wake up and you head into Elysium or head into the game for the night. My players were fucking pissed. All right. They were so angry. I had to buy so many bottles of alcohol and so many drinks to soothe this over at night. I had an $1,800 bar tab, and that was 10 years ago. And they still won't let me run a dream sequence. And I'm ready now. I've learned my lesson. All right. I've learned my lesson.
I don't know, man. My brain dance sequence in Cyberpunk went well. Maybe we should trade notes. I don't know what you did there. But I will be at the next one so I can get free booze. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever run a session so bad I had to buy everybody drinks.
No.
Pizza maybe, not drinks.
If you guys could do me one last favor before you go, getting at your guys are the death guys, it seems. How does Craig die?
Oh no.
What is Craig? Is he an actual bear?
Oh no. So Craig is a half orc he is a full orc barbarian who plays the drum. Was it the drums?
Those I think drums.
Yeah.
He's got a fairy girlfriend named Flicker. He has a bag of holding that is an ogre's head, essentially. Yes. Inside, he keeps a small collection of knives. And these are all details given to us about Craig from guests.
No. Craig clearly is found dead this evening when we all come into the tavern. Every one of his teeth are pulled out and his eyes plucked. And the only scene, or the only clue left at the scene of the crime, is the fairy girlfriend's family running away, taking his teeth down into the crevice of the bar.
Being chased by Hellboy.
Yeah, you can tell you grew up through World of Darkness, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So you hear that, Craig? You hear that? You better do your job right.
Can't sing
Better
without
do it
teeth,
right.
my guy.
That's right. Also, make sure she's not a tooth fairy next time.
A tooth fairy.
It's a tooth fairy.
All part of the plan.
Distant relative. Distant relative.
Yeah.
No, they're shapeshifters. They're all tooth fairies. Let's be real.
Yep.
Guys, it's been great having you on. I really am looking forward to this. Like, I've been mostly running 5e. I've been wanting to run Shadowdark stuff, and I think when my campaign ends, I think that's what I'm going to go to. I'm going to kill them all. The plant's going to land on them, and they're just going to wake up in the Sunless Citadel, and I'll just keep going from there. And my wife will be very mad at me because it means all the cats died too. So
she can dream about them though. When she slumbers, she can dream of her cats.
Nice.
yeah.
Every time she wakes up, they're not there, and then slowly but surely, you can peel those memories from her, and she'll never remember those cats again.
Just one cat at a time. All
Or just
disappear.
tell her you know a guy that could run a dream sequence.
But the question you got to ask is, so which cat do you lose today? What memory? And that is going to be how you get to end every session.
Oh
my God. I should divorce me.
Yeah, man. You're definitely sleeping on the couch for a year.
We know some good lawyers if you need it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you all.
Yes.